Hello everybody, I'm Gepwin and it's Friday, and that can only mean that it's time again for Free App Friday. I apologize so much for the huge hiatus, holidays, and lots of stuff got in the way, but I'm back. I've found some more free things for you on the iPad, so let's jump into it. First thing I want to talk about is Army of Darkness HD. This is kind of a tower defense-esque game, except you don't have towers, you have troops. You're playing as Ash, the hero from the Evil Dead trilogy, including Army of Darkness, and you are trying to keep the Deadite Horde from reaching the Necronomicon. It is a very strange game. It's a 2D linear defense game. Enemies cannot move past you or the units that you summon, and you can upgrade your units, your castle, yourself, and your magic abilities. I think it's great. It gives a lot of challenge, a lot of variability. You get to try a lot of different things and combinations with your soldiers. I do think some of the later levels get a little bit limiting in the combinations of soldiers and abilities that actually work, but with all the upgrades and things, it's really fun. It's very engaging and addictive, and it's free, so I'd say definitely give that a try, especially if you're an Army of Darkness fan. It has a lot of quotes from the movie. All the enemies from the movie are there. Really interesting. I have a ton of fun with it. The next game that I was looking at is Bombshells Hell's Bells. This is a very odd game. It's centered around kind of, let's say, buxom ladies flying airplanes. They don't appear much aside from some slightly anime-esque art styles in the character selection menus and things. Most of the game is flying planes. So if you do find the female aesthetic offensive, I apologize for that one, but they don't show up much. I didn't think it was too intrusive other than kind of a gimmick to go with the title. The flight controls in this are incredibly solid. It's the only time I've ever liked tilt controls in the game, honestly. I tend to hate them on the iPad. It's just too big and clunky for that kind of thing, but these are really tight. The planes control very, very well with tilt controls. You can fly them without the tilt controls. I thought it was a little more clunky, but if you have a disability or don't like the tilting, it's nice to have the option of another control set. Only thing is it does get a teeny bit repetitive. All the missions are essentially the same: run after the enemies and kill them. But it does kind of have an old school flight vibe, kind of like the old Rogue Squadron games, things of that nature. I definitely recommend giving it a try at least. It does kind of pester you for microtransactions, but I haven't felt it necessary to even upgrade from basic weapons yet. That might become prohibitive later on in the game. I haven't gotten that far, but seems like it does give you enough that as long as you don't mind not upgrading your plane constantly, you won't need to spend money. Finally on the list today is Berserk Ball 2. This began life as a Flash game, which I played a lot on some of the various Flash game sites. It was pretty fun. I'm not up on what they're calling this genre, but I think of it as the hit things and see how far they go genre, which I admit doesn't roll off the tongue. Anyway, so you create what they call a nerd. I don't know if I'd call him that, but that's what they call it in the game. You create a nerd character that's your personal nerd character that you get to bash around. And then you take one of the members of the team that all have different strengths and weaknesses, and you hit the nerd as far as you can, and then it encounters things along the way that allow him to go further. You can upgrade everything. You can upgrade the number of things that spawn, you can upgrade the number of times you can hit the person, you can upgrade the amount of strength that your character has to hit the nerd farther. The main thing is the upgrades. It does get slightly repetitive. You're going to be doing it the same thing a lot over and over and over until you get the money for the upgrades. This one does have some nice mini games. There's some fairly fun mini games. They're very challenging, and winning the mini games unlocks a very good in-game bonus. So definitely worth checking out the mini games and the gameplay. If you're into this genre, it's a very, very good example. Not everyone is. It can get a little bit repetitive, but I definitely recommend trying it out. If you don't want to download the iPad version, just search for it, and there's plenty of Flash game sites around that have it. So that's been Free App Friday. I thank you so much for watching. Now I have a question for any fans of the show, because I know there are a few of you out there. Even with the Christmas break, I was struggling to find enough apps to cover week to week. I have enough for maybe one more show right now, but between finding good apps and reviewing the apps and then deciding whether they go in the show, it takes a very long time. So I want to give people who are watching the option of getting some input in here. Currently, I am only reviewing games, and I'm only reviewing ones that I think are good enough to try. So, I have a couple options. One, I can continue in that format and just space the show out more, so it might become bi-weekly instead of weekly, which I know is a little weird coming right off of a break, but that might be how things have to go in the future. Or I could start reviewing good and bad apps, games specifically still. This would, I think it would add some more flavor to the reviews. I think I can be a lot funnier if the thing is not good. So I think it might be slightly more entertaining to watch and listen to, but it would not be quite as simple. You wouldn't just be able to go in, see the list, and go, these are games that he recommends. So I can understand if people don't like that format. The other thing that I can do is I have a friend who's very into iPad development, and he was suggesting that he could help me cover some non-game apps. So if people would be interested in seeing that, I might be able to put out the show a little more frequently. I'd maybe partner up with him. He'd be doing some of the non-game reviews, I'd be doing some of the game reviews, etc. So those are basically the three format options going forward. Either the show becomes more bi-weekly, and you don't get it as often, but it's still just 3 good games. It's still weekly, but I'm reviewing some poor games along with some good games. Or it becomes not just games, but other free and interesting apps as well. So let me know in the comments, either here or the link that I post on the iPad Reddit, or you can tweet it either at me or tweet it publicly, whatever you're more comfortable with, at Gepwin, and I'll just take a feeling of how things are going the next week. I'll put out the next episode and then maybe switch formats depending on what everyone says. Thanks so much for watching, really appreciate it. I'm back, I'm glad to be back, I'm glad to be recording, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed the show and stuck around through the end of my little rant here. So, I am Gepwin, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.